The call should have ended cleanly. A thank you.
A goodbye.
Silence. You're my salvation, my mother said warmly after I transferred the money. 7,000 pesos, rent, utilities, groceries. I stared at the confirmation screen on my phone, relief mixing with something like hope. Then the line didn't disconnect. I heard movement, a chair scraping. Her voice changed, lighter, careless. Does she really think we love her? She laughed softly. It was a mistake. She's only good for paying bills. My chest went cold. I didn't breathe. I didn't move. My name is Isabel Moreno. I'm the daughter who lives far enough away to be useful, but not close enough to matter. I'd been sending money for years, quietly, reliably, telling myself it was temporary, that family meant something deeper than transactions. On the other end of the call, someone else chuckled. My aunt, I think. As long as she keeps paying, my mother said. Why correct her? I ended the call, without a sound. Sat on the edge of my bed. Let the words settle where they landed.
I didn't call back.
I didn't confront her. I just marked the calendar, one final date circled in red. Because the next payment was coming up. And I already knew it wouldn't be sent. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying her laugh, the casual cruelty in it, the way love had been reduced to a monthly transfer. By morning, the shock had dulled into something steadier, awareness. Every message, every "are you okay?" she'd ever sent suddenly rearranged itself into a pattern I couldn't unsee. When I was younger, help had been framed as responsibility. You're the strong one. You don't need much. Your sister has it harder. I'd accepted that logic because it made me useful, and usefulness had always felt close enough to love. The next day, my mother texted a heart emoji. Then, rent is due soon, Mija. No mention of the call. No apology. Just expectation. I typed a reply. Deleted it. Typed another. Deleted that too. I realized I didn't owe her an explanation she wouldn't hear. Instead, I opened my banking app and turned off the recurring transfer. One small switch. No fireworks. No warning. Just finality. My hands shook afterward, not with fear, but with grief. Not for the money, but for the version of my mother I'd been protecting in my head. That evening, my phone rang again. Her name lit up the screen. I let it ring. And in that quiet, I understood something painful and freeing. Silence could be a boundary, too. The first voicemail sounded confused. Isabel? Did something happen with the bank? My mother asked, voice tight but polite. Like this was a clerical error, not a choice. The second voicemail was sharper. You need to call me back. This isn't funny. By the third, she stopped pretending. Do you have any idea how irresponsible this is? I listened to all three without reacting. Each one peeled back another layer of the story I'd been telling myself. There was no concern in her voice, only inconvenience. Panic, not about me, but about the gap I'd left behind. My sister texted that afternoon. Mom says you're being dramatic again. Again. As if hurt were a habit of mine. I didn't reply. Instead, I went for a walk through my neighborhood, noticing small things I'd always rushed past. The bakery opening its shutters, a woman watering plants on her balcony, the ordinary proof that life kept moving even when you stopped explaining yourself. That night, my mother called 6 times. I watched the screen light up, then go dark. I felt guilty.
Of course I did.
But beneath the guilt was something new. A quiet certainty that if I answered now, I'd disappear all over again. The 4th day was when the tone changed. My mother stopped calling and started recruiting. An aunt messaged about family loyalty. A cousin asked if I was sick. Someone even suggested I'd been influenced by bad people. It was familiar, the way concern turned into pressure the moment compliance was threatened. I kept my phone face down and focused on small, concrete tasks. Laundry, groceries, work emails answered without apology. Each ordinary thing felt like proof that my life didn't collapse when I stopped paying to be loved. That evening, a long message arrived from my mother. No anger this time. Just nostalgia. Photos from my childhood. Stories about sacrifices she'd made. A final line that read, "We did the best we could." I read it once. Then again. She wasn't wrong. They had done the best they could with the version of me they wanted. The one who stayed useful, grateful, quiet. I typed a response and erased it. Typed another and erased that too. Explanations felt like negotiations, and I wasn't bargaining anymore. So I archived the thread. Not blocked.
Archived.
A small distinction that mattered to me. Because I wasn't erasing my mother. I was choosing not to answer a version of love that only existed when money did. The next payment date came and went without a sound. No confirmation screen. No thank you. No relief disguised as affection. I marked the day by cooking dinner for myself and eating it slowly, like a ritual I'd never been allowed to have before. The panic arrived the following morning. My mother's messages came in quick succession now, not angry, not nostalgic, just afraid. The landlord is asking questions. The lights might be shut off.
Please call me.
She still didn't mention what she'd said. Still didn't apologize. Need had replaced pretense. I sat with the discomfort instead of running from it. I reminded myself that emergencies built on entitlement are not my responsibility to solve. That love doesn't require me to bleed quietly. I drafted one message, brief, careful, final. I heard what you said. I won't be sending money anymore. I didn't wait for the reply. I muted the thread and placed my phone in another room, like you do when something sharp needs distance. That afternoon, I booked a one-way ticket. Not back home, somewhere new. Somewhere no one knew how useful I was. Because disappearing didn't mean vanishing. It meant choosing a life where my worth wasn't measured in transfers. She replied within minutes. Not with denial. Not with remorse. With offense. You misunderstood. You're too sensitive. I was joking. Each message tried to rewrite what I'd heard, as if memory were something she could negotiate. I read them once, then set the phone down and packed another box. That night, my aunt called. Then my uncle. Then a cousin I hadn't spoken to in years. The script was consistent. She's your mother. She didn't mean it. You know how stressed she is. No one asked how I was. No one asked why I'd stopped. They only asked when I'd start again. I sent the same sentence to all of them. This is between me and my mother. It didn't stop the messages, but it slowed them. Boundaries often do. At the airport, I watched families hug at the gate and felt the old ache rise, then pass. I wasn't running away. I was stepping out of a role that required me to pretend cruelty was affection. As the plane lifted, my phone buzzed one last time. A missed call from my mother. I didn't call back. And in the hum of the engines, I felt something unfamiliar settle in my chest. Not loss, but space. The city I landed in didn't know my history. No one there expected updates. No one counted on me to fix what they refused to face. I rented a small room near the river, unpacked only what I needed, and let the rest stay in boxes. A physical reminder that I was allowed to decide what came with me. The messages slowed after a week, then stopped. Silence arrived not as punishment, but as confirmation. When there was no money, there was no conversation. One afternoon, I checked my bank account out of habit and froze, not from panic, but from relief. For the first time in years, my balance wasn't already spoken for. I paid my own bills, planned my own month, imagined a future that didn't involve rescuing anyone. My sister sent one final text. Mom says you've changed. I stared at it, then typed back. I grew up. I didn't block her. I didn't argue. I just let the truth sit where it belonged. That evening, walking along the river, I realized something quietly astonishing. I hadn't disappeared at all. I had become visible to myself. And once that happened, going back was no longer an option. I heard about my mother months later through a distant cousin. She'd moved in with my aunt, downsized, complained often, told people I'd abandoned her. That money had changed me. No one mentioned the call. No one repeated what she'd said when she thought I wasn't listening. I didn't correct the story. Some truths don't need defending. In my new city, I learned what quiet could be when it wasn't punishment. Mornings without dread. Evenings without guilt. I stopped flinching when my phone buzzed. I stopped measuring my worth in how much relief I could buy for others. One day, I deleted the banking app shortcut from my home screen. It felt symbolic, almost ceremonial, like closing a door I'd been standing in for years. Sometimes I still think about that moment, her voice, careless and honest, revealing the role I'd been cast in without consent. I don't replay it with anger anymore. I replay it with gratitude. Because if she hadn't forgotten to hang up, I might still be paying to be loved. Still mistaking obligation for affection. Instead, I disappeared just long enough to find myself. And when I came back to my own life, I stayed.